if everybody in business and in life just started to act compassionately and speak openly and think positively, my God, the difference it would make. Welcome, everybody, to Sally Speaks Mindset Podcast. I am so thrilled today to have this beautiful guest with me, Gail Page. Gail and I met a few years ago. She was living in New Zealand at the time, and she has since flipped back to the UK. She's in New Zealand, 18 years?
Yeah.
And now she's going back to the UK, which is where she was from originally. And wow, transition. And so we're going to delve a little bit into that today. But I also wanted to just briefly talk a little bit about Gail and who she is, because this session is going to be really, really powerful. And the reason it's going to be powerful is because of the type of work that Gail has chosen to have her expertise in and her understanding of communication, but at such a higher level. And one of the things that's her specialty is the art of navigating difficult decisions. And especially for people that are in leadership roles at CEO levels and corporate executives. So this is going to be really enlightening, not only for me, because I know you've taught me a few things already, Gail, about how to have the right conversation with people when I was feeling frustrated or not knowing how to really approach it. And so I'm really, really excited to have you today. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited too.
This is going to be a fun conversation. So as we start out, tell us a little bit first about the journey moving from New Zealand over to Britain, because that's a big change. And especially as we're in that midlife section of our lives, tell us a little bit about how that experience went for you.
Well, it's interesting because when we went to New Zealand, we literally just went for an adventure. Never been. We didn't know a soul.
Wow.
And from making the decision and getting there, it took us 4.5 months.
Wow, that's awesome. That would got that in 4.5 months. Who would do that in 4.5 months, especially 18 years ago, when it wasn't normal for people to flip around the world?
We've never intended emigrating anywhere, and it was done on a whim. And we got there, and people were saying, well, you might go back. We might not. What happens? Let things unfold, which we did. And we spent 18.5 wonderful years there.
Nice.
Time was going on, and we're none of us getting any younger, although we might like to feel that we are. We decided that it was time to come back because, our families are here. And we thought, well, if anything ever happened to any of them, it's not way to go if you have to get there quickly.
Yes.
So we made the decision, and you know how most people would go ready, aim, fire.
Yeah.
Anyway, ready, fire, aim. So in January, we decided, yes, that's it. We're moving back.
Mm-hmm.
Our house on the market. We bought one-way tickets to the UK. And we did a little board that had a picture of a Singapore Airlines jet and a Kiwi at one side of it and Big Ben at the other. And we put, Gail and Chris have now moved to somewhere in England.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was saying, but where are you going? I don't know. In England. Oh, yeah, but, and you've put your house on the market. That was a little bit premature, actually, because it sold in 7 weeks. They even put it on to the day we handed over the keys. It was 7 weeks. Wow. So luckily, a friend of ours who had a house that they were going to turn into an Airbnb lived around the corner. And they said, hey, you can have our house. Perfect. It was wonderful. And then we get back here. And I don't think I've ever bought so many hoodies in my life. Old. And my daughter, she's like, a strappy little summer dress. Yeah. A hoodie wrapped around my neck. And she said, for goodness sake, it's warm. No, not for me. It's not.
Takes a while to acclimatize. Absolutely.
And acclimatize in lots of different ways. People were saying, oh, it must be nice to be home. I said, well, no, it doesn't feel like home just yet. But I think you have to give yourself time to transition.
Right.
From what was
Mm-hmm.
to what is and to what will become.
Yes.
And you have to give yourself that grace, because I think it's too easy for people saying, oh, right, I'm here now. I've got to go find clients. I've got to do this.
Right.
And I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I needed to recalibrate.
Yes.
And I'm very, very much in tune with my own energy and everybody else's energy as well. And I thought, no, I need to give myself this gift of time.
Yes.
Just to be. Well, we're so busy being human doings.
Yeah.
So, being. I did.
That's awesome. Now, one thing that you left out, because you mentioned it at the very beginning, was you bought a one-way ticket. And that one-way ticket, if I remember correctly, was for May.
Yes.
January, when you decided to make this change. So you just bought a one-way ticket, not knowing if everything else was going to fall into place, regardless of whether you would sell your house, whether there would be something on the other end for you to have to move to, all of that kind of thing. So this is, in my opinion, this is like manifestation at its best. Because
I'm a great believer in when you set your intention and you take inspired action towards that intention, if it's meant to happen, it will.
and it happens faster.
That's right. Not, that's okay too, because there's learning in that.
Yes.
And I learned a lot about myself, how I tick, how I come across, what I need, what I don't need, because we sold before we came back.
Yes.
And obviously just brought, some clothes and what books. Have you? We sold all the furniture and everybody's going, my God, you did that going out. I said, I know, it's wonderful. The house we're going to buy, we're renting at the moment. And I fell in love with all the charity shops because they've got amazing furniture.
Yes.
And it's stopped getting wood. Exactly. So yes, but we're manifesting our house as we
Nice.
be ready. It will be ready.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love this story because, as you know, my husband and I did very similar things. We moved across the country on a whim this year for a career opportunity for my husband. And we just came back from a house hunting trip as well to a place we've never been to, figuring that would be a great place to live. And it's right on the other side of the country from where we lived on the West Coast most of the time. That would be right on the East Coast and the furthest south point on the East Coast. But it was so much fun to just go and explore, but also have this vision of what we want to create for our future and not allowing other people's opinions take us off of our track. So I know from experience and from teaching this that there's a lot of people that have to have other people's validity before they make a decision or a move or think that their opinions are going to, affect us. Whereas some people really have a hard time because they can't imagine ever doing something like you just did. Selling everything, booking a ticket before you even know you sold your house, selling your house in 7 weeks, finding a solution right away, flipping across the country, and then giving yourself permission to just go with the flow when you got there, to settle in, to adjust to the time zones, to adjust to the environment, and just seeing the glow on your face right now really lets me know that it was the right decision and everything fell into place, even probably better than you expected.
Oh, totally. And we're within 2 hours of family, my partner's family, my own family, and my daughter is only an hour and a half away. And that's icing on the cake.
And your grandchildren.
And my grand.
Which is the extra icing on the cake for sure. So now, as we're going to go forward, I really love that story. And I want to share that because of the power of the mind and the power of the manifestation. And that, like you said, taking that inspired action to get you to where you want to be. And I think that's been a guiding force in your life, from what I can tell, most of your life. And it's worked out brilliantly for you. So, if anybody can take anything from this podcast today, this is the first piece I want you to hold on to. and think about what are the things that are limiting you from moving forward with some of the things that you really would love to have in your life or attract into your life or do or be or have, because it's all available to you. And I wanted to highlight that story before we get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation, because I think it's just a brilliant story. And it just shows how, even the picture that you had of the Singapore Air and, here's where you are with the Kiwi, here's where you are going back to the UK with Big Ben there, and then just having that affirmation so that you can both see it constantly. And all of these are little tricks.
People don't do that. I spoke to somebody yesterday, and it's funny because he said, "Oh, I have images in my head," and he said, "I don't like clutter." I said, "It doesn't have to be clutter. It doesn't have to be clutter." I said, when we went to New Zealand, someone gave us a New Zealand flag, and we put that on our bed. And every night before we went to sleep, we would say, "I'm so grateful we live in New Zealand."
Nice.
Coming back, although we have a Union Jack, every night we would go, "I'm so grateful I live in the UK. I'm so grateful to live near our family."
Yes.
And I said to him, I said, "You cannot see the pictures in your head in the same way as you can when you have them out of your head, either on a piece of paper, on the wall, in a book." And I think when you've got things dotted around, you don't even see them consciously, but subliminally, you see them. Going back to what you said, Sally, you're so right about how people will offload their fears
Yes.
onto us because they think, "Well, oh no, I couldn't do that." And they tell us that it won't work.
Yeah.
And it's too easy to be swayed by other people's fears. I'm a great one for possibility thinking. I don't believe in just thinking about what I already know and can do. My favorite questions to people is, what might you be able to do? Instead of what could you do or what should you do, what might happen if?
Yes.
How might you deal with that? And the word might opens up a whole different part of our brain because we think, I don't know what might happen. And you get to play.
Exactly. And play with what the possibilities are with that, as opposed to what the fears are that would hold you back. Like, strip back that curtain and just say, what's possible? What could happen if we went this way? Like, think of the positive things as opposed to all the worries, fears, and doubts aligned with it. Because that's where automatically we tend to go, well, how could I afford that? What would happen if we couldn't sell everything? What if our house didn't sell? What if the flight gets delayed? All of these little things we come up in our own mind saying, what is the negative side of everything as opposed to what's the possibility? And when we open up, like you're talking about with the gratitude, that you're already there and you've got that feeling, that energy is the feeling that you have the dream being fulfilled.
Right. The energy I know myself that if my energy is low, I don't manifest anything.
Yeah.
And I'm a wonderful manifester, but I'm also a good repeller.
Tell us what that means.
Exactly. We're all very good at sort of, oh gosh, what if I don't get any clients? And what if this and what if that? Well, what if you let go of that and started thinking, what if I have got so many clients, I don't know what to do with them? What if I'd got new clients and I'm working with people I never thought I could work with? I never thought I would meet. Saying it right now, I can feel my energy change.
I can see it changing in you.
Oh, thank you. And literally, what if? I bet when you started your podcast, you'd never done one before. Look at them. Because you just went for it.
Yep. And what happened with that, when I made that decision that I was going to do that, so this is going back to that manifestation, I thought, I want to have a weekly podcast. And I didn't know who I was going to invite. I did just stepped into LinkedIn from having been away from there after leaving corporate. And I had a gal from the UK called Jen Corcoran, who was very big on teaching LinkedIn. And I joined sort of her groups that she just had online, just through the connections, and not something I had to pay for or anything. But she created a community on there, and she posted up I think every Friday. And what it said was, if you are interested in growing your connections and hosting a podcast, doing LinkedIn Lives, doing this, doing that, put it down in the comments and see what happens. I filled my calendar for over 3 months from a couple of those actual posts. And I also started doing LinkedIn Lives, which I'd never done before, with all of those people as well, and filled my calendar for 6 months. And then after that 3 months was filled, I kept getting more. But from that chance decision that I made at the beginning of January that I was going to commit to that, within a week, I had a bunch of people lined up, and amazing people from all over the globe. They just showed up, like you're saying, because I made a committed decision to do something. And you know what? You can look back and you can say, well, it wasn't so great. It was this, it was that. But I did it. And I've met some incredible people by doing that. And now I'm going into my second or third year. I'm getting close to being into the finish of my second year doing a weekly podcast. So it's those kinds of things that lead you down the right path to meet the people. When you don't have that attachment to the end result, you just allow.
That's the key. I love that, Sally, because lack of attachment to the end result and allowing, that's the difference between people who get shit done,
Yes,
and those who don't. So many people I have heard who said, oh, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. Well, I don't know about you, Sally, but I'm not going to be one of these gray-haired old ladies who crawls quietly into her grave. I am going to go sliding into it and go, holy hell, what a ride.
Yes. I can see you doing that, actually. That's fun. I love that analogy. I'll be visualizing that every time I see you now. There she goes. That's fun. You're not ready at all. Now, one of the other things that happened when you left New Zealand, and as we're moving forward, was rebranding your company and taking it from a company you owned in New Zealand to one that you have now in the UK. And you put a little bit of a twist on your business at the same time. So not only did you move across the world, you decided to change a few things within your business. So tell us a little bit about what your business was then and what it is today, and how you're growing that in your new city.
Well, my business used to be called Positive Pathways. And that in itself, I mean, when I think about it, I never, ever set out to be in business. Ever. I was brought up to believe that, business people have to work hard and what have you and all this. And I was teaching assertiveness at a local college. And I got a call from a service manager that I knew when I was doing my social work training. And she said, look, I wonder if you could come along and facilitate a meeting for me. And when we discussed it, I said, I'm not so sure that that's what you need. I think you probably need me or someone like me to come in and do one-on-ones, find out what's going on, and then run a team building day based on that. And she said, great, when can you do it? And I'm thinking, I've never done team building. And I thought, well, I know I can because, I've been running workshops, so it can't be that different. But I remember a friend of mine who was an HR manager and saying, I think I've got myself into a little bit of a pickle. And she said, what is that? And I told her, and she said, oh, God, Gail, only you could do that. I said, well, I didn't know she was going to say yes. Well, I went back to my students and I said, I need you to help me come up with a name because I think I'm in business.
I think I'm in business.
How I got into business. And after doing that one team building day, my phone never stopped.
Wow.
People got my team out. And fast forward to coming back. So that was 25 years ago.
Wow.
I actually caught up with that service manager about 3 weeks ago. Phone call. And she said, I said, I don't know if you actually knew at the time, but I had never done a team building day before. And she said, well, you would never have known, Gail. And she started telling me things that she remembered from it that even I didn't remember. And I thought, oh my goodness, wow, that really got to me. None of us know the impact that we have.
Exactly.
So as I say, fast forward 25 years ago, fast forward coming back, and there are lots of positive pathways in the UK. Some of them you don't necessarily want to be associated with.
Mhm.
I spoke to somebody about a rebrand, and she was really, really good. She got me to really dig deep. And she's probably the first person that I allowed in like that.
Yes.
And, she said, so what is it that you want to help people achieve? And I got on my hobby horse and I said, you know something? I get really fed up hearing people go on about how bad performance is and yada, yada, yada. I said, if everybody in business and in life just started to act compassionately and speak openly and think positively, my God, the difference it would make. And I said, that to me is at the heart of everything. And she laughed. And the next time we met, she said to me, I've got the name of your business. Well, yeah, what's that? She said, the heart of high performance. Because every time you talk about the act compassionately, speak openly, and think positively, your hand goes to your heart.
Oh.
Years. I literally burst. Oh my goodness, she is so right.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. And I can take full ownership.
So now, in the heart of high performance, who specifically do you work with, and what is it that you're doing with them to help them to create that high performance and bring that heart forward?
Good question. I love working with senior leaders. And I'll tell you why. Because I think they get a bit of a bad rap. Everybody says, oh, my manager's this, my manager's that, or, my CE's this, or the CIO is like this. People don't get taught how to lead
No.
when they get given a title.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you have met people in the same situation, Sally. They get promoted because technically they're really quite good at what they do. Somebody says, oh, there's a promotion coming up. You should go for that. And they think, oh, be nice to have a bit more money and what have you. Given the title. And then they'll have to get on with it.
Yes.
I think I saw a study done saying that a lot of people who are in a leadership role spend between 6 and 10 years before they're given any development opportunities.
That's crazy.
And, that's disgusting because in a way it's a form of abuse. Now that might sound a bit strong, but the way I look at it is if you are going to give people a title, give them the tools that they need so that they can get into and grow into that title. Because I have met so many people who will say to me, my team are coming to me and they're moaning about so-and-so and so-and-so not getting on. And they're saying to me, I don't know what to do. And I say to them, go sort it out yourselves. You're not kids anymore. And I say to them, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
I've got so much on your plate. The thing is, if they knew how to sort it out, they would.
Yes.
What usually happens is that the leader doesn't know how to sort it out. That's why they tell them, go sort it out yourselves. And that is really sad. And that's why, people say to me, oh, you're a leadership development coach and facilitator. I say, well, yes, I am, but maybe not in the way that you think. I go, how do you mean? I said, well, this isn't about, how to delegate, how to manage, how to make sure that your business plan is put into operation, what have you. That I know plenty of people who can do that. That's not where I'm at my, I'm going to say powerful. Well, actually it is. I don't like skating on the surface. You know, to me, if you're going to have a title, it's not the title I coach. It's the person who carries the title.
Nice distinction.
Yeah. And it's all about personal development. You know, looking at what triggers you. You know, what are your fears? And what is it that you don't know how to do about showing up as your authentic self?
Well, what I'm hearing is really resonating with me from all of my corporate career life that I had for over 30 years and looking at the leadership and also being in leadership and seeing how a lot of people did not have that skill set. And when I assumed the top leadership role in one of my organizations that I was with, one of my first days on the job, I had two of my senior managers in my office about to go to fisticuffs. And one was a big Scottish guy and the other was a small guy. And I'm like, okay, I need to diffuse this and get to work together. And so I had to pack my skill set, my personal skill set of communication and how to diffuse this because I had never had that before. But it's like, okay, it's here now. I have to deal with this. How am I going to manage this? But there is no training and development on that. And I find the higher you go up in the hierarchy, the less personal development and business development you get, actually. They just assume that you're going to be able to do everything the way that a leader would. But I also believe that there's a lot of people in those, you know, corporate roles or other businesses where, you know, they might be in the ivory tower, we might be on the ground level doing the work. They don't actually have that training either, or that development to build on their personal skills. Because with each level of growth in the leadership roles, you're required to step up to a whole different level. And it's not just about the numbers. The numbers matter at the end of the day, but how are you managing the people to be able to create that success and keep them aligned on the same path with respect, with passion, and with an understanding that you are there to support them. I was fortunate to have somebody that was a past police officer, but very aggressive and wasn't a fan of having women in leadership roles. Took a lot of really nasty moves across the organization I was with to eliminate them all after their 30-year careers in a way that was not conducive to how they should be treated. Then I saw it happening over and over. And then something similar happened to me as well with this gentleman. But it was like, wow. And yet the corporation above them just let him get away with it, even though he got sued. The company got sued for every one of those. It was very interesting that there wasn't that awareness, the skill set from one profession to another in a leadership role does not qualify you to be in that leadership role if you haven't got that understanding of how to actually treat people and how to work with people and help them grow. So I love what you're choosing to do. And that's why I wanted you to have you on, because I know how amazing you are. But having had 30 years of the corporate leadership roles, I have seen it firsthand many, many times where the leader just wasn't capable.
That's right. And that's why I think the personal development side of it is so important. One of my loves is assertiveness, as I've mentioned to you before, because, people, they've got the wrong idea about assertiveness. You say, oh yeah, that's being aggressive and what have you. Even in one of the dictionaries, the word aggression comes in to the description of assertion. And it annoys me.
Wow.
Being assertive is so far removed from being aggressive. It is. And to me, somebody said to me, yeah, well, what is assertive? I said, the most simple way of looking at it is helping yourself to find your voice and speak your truth in a respectful way, and that you have give the other person the courtesy to do the same.
Nice.
To someone else with respect, regardless of whether we agree with them or not. That to me is the best way to describe it. And teaching people that skill, to me, that is one of the most powerful skills that a leader can have. Is, as you know, most people don't like difficult conversations.
They shy away from them and they call in sick for that post, and they're just fearful of them.
That's right. And you'll sweep things under the carpet. And I have a little friend here who is the elephant in the room. And you know what happens is the elephant is allowed to stay in the room. You get a lot of elephant doo-doo. And it piles up and piles up. And the way I look at it is, if you have the tools to be able to look at what's going on and deal with things at the outset, you will never end up having a pile of doo-doo.
Yeah.
You're rid of the need for the elephant to be. And when I think about difficult conversations, I mean, I would love it if people just have an ordinary conversation and it didn't need to be difficult. However, I'll tell you a little story about someone that, this happened about 12 years ago. And I still remember it as if it was yesterday.
Wow.
So I was doing a difficult conversations workshop for a local council, and we had from all different departments show up. And at the beginning of every workshop I do, I have people write on a flip chart their name and one thing that will make it feel as if the day has been worthwhile them attending. And I get to make sure that I cover all the bases and everybody's needs are met. So everybody come to the table beside me, they pick up the black pen, they'd write their name and that one thing. And this man who was sat there with his hands like this and his leg crossed like the typical, powerful, up and he picks up the red pen, looks at me and goes, and then goes to the board and writes his name in capitals, writes nothing in capitals, and then he double underlines it and comes back, slams a pen down on the table beside me, and he goes, and then goes and sits down. His colleagues were going, oh my God. And everybody was looking at me as if to say, oh my God, what's she going to do? And for me, I thought, oh, this is playtime. Let's go. So I said to him, I'm sensing that you don't want to be here. And he went, oh, bravo, dear. Bravo. Oh, I want the floor to open up. And then I went, I'm also sensing that you were sent on this, that you didn't actually apply to come on it. And he went, oh, 2 out of 2, dear. You're so good. Sarcasm was literally dripping. And I said, oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. So I said to him, look, I'll tell you what. How about you give me 1 hour of your time? And if at the end of that hour, you decide that it wasn't worthwhile being here, and you can leave with my blessing, and I'll even talk to your manager. And he was about to get up, and I went, that is, unless you're not up for the challenge. I eyeballed him. I knew he wouldn't move. I knew he would stay because he didn't want to lose face in front of his colleagues. After half an hour, and I made sure he was really engaged in an exercise. After half an hour, I went up and tapped him on the shoulder. And I said, you only got half an hour left. And he went, what? I said, you've only got half an hour left. Oh, yeah. 5 minutes to the hour. I said to him, look, there's only 5 minutes left. I said, so you might as well leave now. And he went, do you mind? I'm busy.
That's funny.
Well, that man when I'm working, I always do follow-ups because otherwise it's like sheep dipping. You dip people in, pull them out, hope to goodness something sticks. So a fortnight later, we met again, and I said, everybody in the room, I said, right, just going to do a quick round robin. And the one thing that you tried that worked really well and why you think that was, and one thing that didn't work quite as well as you might have liked, and why you think that was. So he put his hand up, and 5 voices said, no, don't let him, don't let him. And it was as if somebody had taken his favorite toy away from him. He looked like that. I said to him, I said, look, normally I would say no, we'll call him John. John put his hand out first, so he can go first. I said, but I kind of get the impression you might want to hear what it is they have to say. And he went, no, all right. I am not joking, Sally. They sounded like proud parents. Each of them had been in meetings with him, and he had a reputation for being one of these people who interrupted you, who talked to people, who told you that that idea won't work. And he was a real troublemaker. Not once in any of those meetings did he display any of those traits.
Wow.
And when they'd finished, as I say, they literally were like proud parents. And he got tears in his eyes, and he's gone, oh, and I said, look at that. Look at what you've done. The change made. And he said to me, he said, Jerry, he says, I remember that first day. He said, God, he said, you could have made me look like such a dick. And I went, well, you didn't exactly need my help for that, did you? So funny. But it was, and that's why I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's when people are given the tools, they can literally change their lives. And that has a ripple effect because when they go home, they tell their partners.
Mm-hmm.
It changes their relationship, which then changes the relationships with their children.
Yes.
It ripples out into the community.
Mm-hmm.
One of my senior leaders, his wife used to say to him when he said, oh, I'm seeing Gail today. He said, I can hardly get in the door. And she said, what did you learn today? What did you learn? I went, oh, and he said, well, yeah, he says, I might have been making a few changes and she might quite like the changes I've made. That's why I love what I do.
That's amazing. And that story is just so perfect because I think anybody that's been in any type of corporate job or in the field has encountered people like that were just, not willing to want to step down that path, but to be able to have the expertise and the ability to break that down right from the get-go and allow them and give them that permission to do what they need to do. And then for them to actually make that transition while they're with you must be just brilliant.
Oh, and I think, you and I have spoken in the past about how we all wear these masks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we turn up at work and in our relationships, and we behave in a way that we think people expect us to.
Yes.
And we've been conditioned as children to be certain ways. Some of us have been lucky to come from a loving family. Other people are less lucky. If they get hurt or they get bullied, they put on this mask. They don't let anybody see. And it doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter if you're just somebody who has started work and somebody sitting in a C-suite. And one of the things I do is I've got a poem and I can't find who wrote it. And it's called The Masks We Wear. It's absolutely beautiful. I used to use it and I would start to read it out, but I would end up in tears. And I thought, that's not very professional, Gail. What? So what I did was I broke it down into little paragraphs, gave everybody a copy, and I got each person to read out a paragraph oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see people going, oh, this is a bit. And it really gets you here. It makes everybody realize that we all wear masks for reasons.
Yes.
And I used to have some masks when I was in New Zealand, and I got rid of them, which I wish I hadn't done. And I used to get people to put these masks on.
Mm-hmm.
Sure they were tight.
Okay.
I made sure they were tight. And they were like, like fancy masquerade type masks. Different. And you could see people, I'll have this one, I'll have that one to begin with. But as the time wore on, you could see people going, I go, God, this is tight. And I say to them, how have you enjoyed wearing your mask? And they go, well, it was fun to begin with, but it's getting a bit, so do you want to take it off? And they go, oh God, yeah. So they would take their mask off and they would sit there and I go, so how do you think that can relate back into real life? And you could see the light bulbs going off all over the place. And the debrief on that one little exercise was so powerful.
I bet.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a great way to be able to talk about, the paradigms that we hold, the things that we need to do. I know the corporate dress codes have changed a lot since, in the last 10 years. But I used to be in the dress every day, the high heels, the jewelry, the hair, the makeup, the whole thing, just having to show up in that physical mask every day. Right. So it wasn't just, my persona, but everything was a physical change that I put on as I walked out that door. And so it's very interesting when you're talking about the mask, because we do all carry something. And lots of us carry lots of different things that we haven't even an awareness that we carry. And so it's very interesting when you're talking about that from the corporate world to be able to talk about those masks. So if you have that poem, I'd love to be able to post up a copy of it and the podcast for people to read, because it sounds like it's so powerful.
Really.
Yeah. And I think it would really resonate with a lot of people, because we do all wear masks. Everybody's wearing a mask, especially on social media today.
Oh, yes, because that's another whole story. Well, everything. Well, it's all unicorns and daisies. And is it bull? There is no way. I have met people who've been posting things on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
See them, I say, hey, how's it going? Oh, geez. And then all this stuff comes out.
Right.
And I think, is it not tiring trying to keep this facade up? Don't get me wrong, I used to be the same. I wanted to be seen in a really positive light. And I remember, must be coming up 2 years ago, all of a sudden, I ended up having panic attacks. And I'd never had one in my life.
Wow.
And it scared the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Very lucky that my partner was a senior clinician in mental health. So I had someone who knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me about 4 months to actually pull it all apart, find out what was going on for me, and for me to feel more the self that used to be.
Mm.
And I said to somebody, I'm going to put a post up on LinkedIn about that. Well, you can't do that.
Well,
That website. Oh my God, you can't do that. And I went, why not? Well, coach, and you have people coming to you who have panic attacks and what have you. I said, and that's exactly why I did. That's exactly that. And I don't share personal things with my clients, but if I have a story that I know they would benefit from, I will tell them the story, but say it was one of my clients.
yeah.
But where that was concerned, I can remember I was working with a CEO, and she was very, staunch. And she said something. I said, oh, I know. She's panic attacks, a pain in the butt. And she went, I said, "Oh," I said, "I had them, beginning of last year." "You?" I went, "Yes, me." And I'm not joking. We've had the most incredible conversation that had I not shared that, we would never.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was piece, right? But to shed that mask and to really, understand that other people have gone through things as well. And we never really know what people are going through, what they've had in their past, where they've come from, because there's so many people still hiding from what has happened to them. And in the work that I do, we uncover a lot of those past elements within their life, their paradigms, the things that they've been carrying for so long that they haven't even recognized are guiding their whole life. And it's just so rewarding to be able to help them to just have that transition and be able to find a way to actually bring it to the surface, deal with it, and rewrite it to create what they really truly want. And that to me is where the heart of my business goes from, is in that element as well, is really being able to help clear uh, that whole area in their life that they're just stuck in. And it's no fault of their own. It's
No, good.
the way that things have been planted within your subconscious mind, and we just need to reprogram it. So, and I think if we take away the guilt of what we've experienced and look at our lives as what we have, as going back to what you were talking about at the beginning, is looking at the possibility on what we can create, because that's the past. And I know that there's a lot of issues with that and carrying of those things, but there is a way to move forward from that and look at those possibilities. And that's where both you and I come into play, is being able to help people to transition and have that feeling, like you said, with the mask, once they actually took the physical masks off. Oh my gosh, how uncomfortable was it to have that mask on for so long and then being given that permission to take it off? And it's like, I can now associate with that in a certain way. So that's just a brilliant technique. And I love that you've done that. And I know the number of people that you've been able to impact throughout your career. And it's just been so exciting I just feel so blessed that I got to meet you, that you showed up into my circle, because you and I have a lot of things in common. And and it's been fun to be able to really get to know you on a much deeper level, but also to really know where your heart is when it comes on helping humankind and helping these leaders and making a difference in the world one person at a time. Because that's all it takes for one person to be able to impact so many people in their circle. Because we just don't know how many people they can actually impact by one of those changes that you're able to make within working with those people, with your clients.
That's what I love, Sally, is I love being able to make a difference by helping other people make a difference in their own lives.
Yes.
Like I was saying about things that have happened in our past. I had a client come to me and he said, I've applied for a new role within the same organization. He said, I haven't had an interview for, crikey, 7 years. He said, can you help me with that? I said, yeah, of course I can. So sessions, and he was raring to go. He got the job.
Oh, nice.
But later he rang me up and he said, I can't do this. With stress in his voice.
Oh,
I said, luckily I didn't say, why can't you do it? I said, what is it that you can't do? And he said, nobody said to me that I would have to stand up and read out reports to the whole team and also to the board. I said, well, that's okay. We could sort that. So he came back to see me. And I do a lot of inner child work with people. So I said to him, I'm just going to ask you, when you think this may have started. And he said, oh, I don't know. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say to you, between birth and 5, and then we're going to go up to how old you are now. Anyway, something happened when he was 7, and he had been asked if he would read a poem at the school assembly. And he told you. And he went running home, Daddy, 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 guess what? I'm going to read a poem at the school assembly. The only issue was that Daddy was an alcoholic. He had been on a binge that day. And when that little boy said that, Daddy smacked him across the mouth and said, who the hell would want to hear what that comes out of your mouth? that little boy, that little 7-year-old boy, stored that memory away in the back of the attic of his mind, and he didn't care until I started helping him find it.
Mhm.
Helped him find it. I didn't help them relive it.
Yeah.
Just found a memory. And then I gave him tools that 7-year-old child needed, and he would bring them forward into his adult self. And I tell you what, Sally, that man doesn't care who he stands up in front of now.
Nice.
He is happy ever he has to stand up and speak.
Awesome. That's amazing. So that's a great note for us to sort of tie up this podcast. It's been absolutely brilliant listening to you today. You know, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. So now, how can people connect with you?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And they can go to my website, theheartofhighperformance.com, and homepage, at the bottom of the homepage, there is an ebook on how to navigate difficult conversations with ease.
Perfect. So we'll put a link up to the ebook, and we'll also put a link up to your LinkedIn and your website so that people can easily find it if they're listening. If you're in a corporate role, if you're a leader, that's the ideal client for Gail. But if there's anything that, resonates with you from this conversation, maybe there's somebody in your organization that you think you'd like to introduce Gail to. These are the types of things that we get to do in our community and the Sally Speaks Mindset group, because we're only one step away from meeting that person that's really going to change your life or those of the lives around you. So I really am just super excited that you showed up today for me
Got it, Sally.
and shared so many great tips and tricks. Don't forget about the manifestation part at the beginning. Go back and listen to that if you really tried to find out what are some of the keys to manifestation, because it's really fun when you manifest. It's fun, but it's also a way of being, right? It's a way of being, it's a way of believing. And so it's possible, and we have the opportunity to be able to share that. So thank you so much, Gail, for taking the time today. We really appreciate you and look forward to having you back as a guest again, because I think we're not done.
You and I could talk forever.
And we do. Thank you so much, and wishing everybody a great day. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so you can get more of this information when you're listening to Sally Speaks Mindset. Have a great day.
Bye.